It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience.
You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Wow. It is 2020. Wasn't that a TV show, Ryan?
Yeah, with Barbara Walters.
Baba Waba.
Barbara.
Wasn't that,
What?
Didn't they do that on Saturday Night Live? Remember Sherry?
Sherry. She did it this year.
Yeah.
Anderson Cooper edited it.
Baba Waba. Yeah.
He was losing his mind. Have you seen the clip?
No.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, Anderson Cooper is just losing it.
He loves it?
Yeah, he loves
the
it.
best
It's
thing?
so
Was he
funny.
a little tipsy?
I think so.
He had to be tipsy. It's
think
New
so.
Year's, you know. So look, guys, this is awesome. We're back for another season of Inside of You, and I want to thank you. This is awesome. It's been a long year of like abandonment issues and guests with great stories and tragedy, a lot of laughs, and I'm just really grateful. I'm grateful to be back to be doing this show. I love doing it. I've talked to you about this a lot. We wanted to do something special this year, and I talked to Bryce and Ryan, who's here with me. First of all, Ryan, I want to give a shout out. Ryan, how do you pronounce your last name?
Tejas.
Yeah, you can't say Tellus.
No.
Tell us more. It's Tejas.
There's a first baseman who plays for the Toronto Blue Jays who goes by Rowdy Tellez.
Rowdy Tellez.
And it rolls, but I've just been told that it's pronounced Tejas my whole life, and that's
Ryan Tejas.
God damn it.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Live with it. Rob Hollis took off. We had an agreement, and he was just, he was making a lot of money. He's got a family, and he had to do what he had to do. And we're still buddies, and I wish him the best. And so he left, and we had started this in the beginning, and I was sort of like a bit at a loss, and like, oh man. And you get all these feelings inside of you, like, like, fuck, he's leaving, even though it's mutual, but he's leaving, and my show's not as successful as Dax's, and comparing yourself. And that's when you go down this wormhole of negativity, and it just doesn't nobody any good, especially yourself. And I learned a lot of that. You fast forward to me going to a wellness center last year and taking care of my shit. I think things they caught up with me, and I had to handle them. I think you either don't handle them or you handle them in whatever way you can and getting help. And, I did that. It wasn't because Rob left, by the way. It was just a culmination of things, surgeries, botched surgeries. Don't use this surgeon. His name is, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to tell you that one.
I don't know if you want to go there.
Yeah, I don't want to go there right now. But, Ryan came on board, and we were just having art night, something I learned at the wellness center. And I was like, Ryan's like, I go, Ryan, can you engineer? I'm sure I can. Right?
And it turns out I can.
You did a fantastic job. Another thing that's coming up, by the way. So first of all, I'm grateful for you, Ryan. I'm grateful, Tejas, that you're here.
Thanks, Rosenbaum.
I am. It's really nice. It's like it started out as an episode. Let's see what happens, and now we're doing them. The top 13 clips that we're going to show, that we're going to have you listen to, are not necessarily the best guests or the best. They're just great moments that. We here at Inside of You, myself and Bryce, we looked through and, we thought these were great moments and nice moments and relevant to the show. They sort of just depict the show. And if you put them all together, it's kind of what the show is about. It's, anyway, you'll hear these in a moment, these top 13, not top 10 list. It's the top 13 moments. But remember, these aren't necessarily the best guests, although they are great guests. What's great is we've decided here at Inside of You to start doing video. Now, you're thinking, if you're listening to this, you're like, wait a minute, what? And a lot of people have asked, and we thought it was a good idea, and so we're going to do video. Now, we're going to transition from the audio to the video, so that's going to take a little time. We have some guests that we did audio, some great guests coming up, so you got to listen to them. We've got Stephen Amell, great guests, and we're going to start doing video. So I'm doing the whole video setup. I stole some of those guys at Bobby Lee's podcast, and they're going to help me set a nice little video stuff here. And my friend Ryan here happens to do a lot of other things, so he's going to help me out with the video. It's been a great year. Also, I joined Patreon. Do you guys know Patreon? Holy shit, Ryan, this is the coolest thing ever. And I'm lost because for 5 years people have been doing this. But if you love something, if you love a podcast, you could join Patreon and you could subscribe. So I was like, oh, who wants to pay money? Well, it's amazing how people really, loyal listeners, want to support the podcast, support me paying you and paying other people and making the show better and doing video. And also, it just feels like a family. You know, I thought, oh, I would just do what I'm required to do, but I've already like had I text people on it and say, hey, thanks for this. It becomes like Patreon to me is more like a friend in a way. I mean, you have to have your space. I'm really grateful to all the Patreons who have subscribed. There's tiers on there if you want to be a Patreon member. There's so many cool things depending on the tier you're in, but you get extra footage, extra me rambling that just will be seen on Patreon that you won't see here. We have a thing called shit talking, which we talk to guests. I talk to guests, and I ask them questions that some of the Patreons ask. They want to know. It's all Patreon questions. And I will ask each guest the questions. I mean, at least the 10 that I choose each week. And there's so much more. The shit talking with Rosenbaum. We've got Q&A sessions with me alone that only my patrons will get to see. So it's really cool. So check it out. Join me. And we'll have a lot of fun. We always have fun anyway, and I really appreciate the support. What else? Oh, Tom Welling and I have a new wine out, Ryan. We did wine last year for Knocking Point at Stephen Amell's Wine, and they asked us, I guess we sold out last year. We were the biggest grossing wine.
Wow.
So they want to do it again. So this year, there's a little spin. I get to be the pure. It's called Pure Evil Wine. I was the evil last time. Tom was pure because, you know. Mm-hmm. And now I'm the pure and he's the evil. It's pretty cool. We love it. We love wine. If you like wine and you want to use my...
what kind of wine is it?
You know, it's like Tom's is a red and I'm the white. I'm always the white because I like white wine, so you'll just have to see. Go to knockingpoint.com, type in the code PURE, and take an additional 10% off. So all you have to do is go to knockingpointwines.com/tastemakers-club and get some Pure Evil wine with me and Tom Welling. Also, I'll be in Portland at the end of January here. If you want to come see me in Welling at a con, that would be a lot of fun. We do these things called Smallville Nights. I don't know if you know it, but if you go to a con, Tom and I improvise. We read old Smallville scripts. I might wear a bald cap. I don't know. Tom wears a flannel, perhaps. We have special guests occasionally. It's a lot of fun. I'd like to say a little shout out. We were talking about the Patreon. I'd like to give a little shout out in the beginning and the outro of the show. In the intro, I'd like to shout out to the top tier patrons. That's Angelina G. It's almost Angelina Joe G. Lena.
I'm not following that one.
No, I'm not either. Angela G, Bob B, Dion K, Jerry W, Jill E, Kevin R, Lauren G, Leah or Lee S, Robert B, Taylor B, and Yukiko.
Yeah.
I like that name, Yukiko, or Yukiko. I think it's Yukiko. Wouldn't you think?
I think Yukiko sounds right.
I think so. But anyway, listeners, I want to thank you. 2019 was a learning curve for me and growing. And let's get into the top 13. We've got a fantastic year coming at you. Many great guests. I'm digging deep. I'm pulling them out of the shadows. I think you're going to be really excited with all this. I know it. This is going to be a bigger year than last year. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Inside of You top 13 moments of 2019. That's right, the top 13 moments. You know, Ryan, this guest, I don't know if you were here for this, Richard Marx.
I was not here.
Richard Marx, you weren't here, but Richard and I have a bit of a relationship, not sexually. I had tweeted something. And he tweeted back and he says, hey, Smallville was a big thing for my family and I. We used to watch Smallville every week. And I'm like, wow, great. Can I have a song for my movie I'm directing back in the day? He's like, yeah. And you want to be in it? And we started this whole friendship and we went to see Lionel Richie together and we'd go out because he was single at the time and he was looking for love. But he was kind enough to come in here. And not only that, this is what I want to strive to be. He wasn't nervous about playing music on a podcast. I was like, do you want me to add an effect he goes, no. Do you want me to add a little reverb? No. What do you need? I don't need anything. I need a mic. And he said that right before we went on the air. And he gave a killer live performance of a song that I love. So let's go to Richard Marx live on the top 13 moments of 2019.
What do you want to play?
I'll play whatever you want. You want a little Endless Summer Nights, the song from your...
Oh, yes. Can I intro it like a DJ? Right now, off the coast, 96 WSTO. We've got Richard. You see, hang on, Richard. So you start strumming a little so they could hear the beginning while I'm.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But so it's you got to time it just so though, right?
Right.
Okay.
94.7 WKDQ off the coast. Richard Marx now with us, an oldie but a goodie. Endless Summer Nights from the movie Back in the Day that didn't make a red cent.
Summer came and left without a warning. All in once I looked and you were gone. Now you're looking back at me, searching far away than we can be, like we were before. Now I'm back to what I knew before you. Somehow the city doesn't look the same. Give my life for one more night, having you here to hold me tight. Oh please, take me there again. Whoa. And I remember how you loved me. Time was all we had until the day we said goodbye. And I remember every moment, those endless summer nights. There's only so much I can say, so please don't run away from what we have together. It's only you and me tonight, so let's stay lost in flight. Won't you please surrender? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember how you loved me. Time was all we had until the day we said goodbye. And I remember every moment, those endless summer nights. Yeah, yeah, those endless summer nights. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
94.7 Richard Marx off the coast. Wow, if you hadn't heard that song, you're probably gonna have that on your playlist.
You know what? 2019 brought a lot of fun, a lot of making fun of me, which is always good, picking on me. This next guest, I think you know him. This is number 12 in the top 13 list of 2019. He's been on the podcast before. This is, I believe, his second appearance. And we go to cons together. We have a lot of fun together. He just had a kid. We do wine together. We made a wine. We've had a friendship that's lasted more than just a hit TV show. So this is Tom Welling, I guess, roasting me about potential new Lex Luthors in the future. And Rob, who was on here, he's poking fun too. So here's number 12 in the top 13. This is Tom Welling.
You got to see what kind of fan base you have, and it's unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, but like your Instagram followers, how many people does he have? His IMDb. I know there's a big producer, actor, director. He casts people based on their IMDb number. If you're not top 10, you're not in. He's not casting you.
Yeah,
it's so fucked.
It's advertising outreach.
I'm not going to say the person because I really like the person.
It's just the way he does business.
If it got out, he would never fucking cast me in anything.
Well, you don't have followers anyways.
Never. Yeah, that's true.
So so what's the difference? He's never going to hire you.
What's the difference? Maybe after this podcast. How many
Hey, Michael, what are you doing this weekend? I see that you have 5 more followers that want to hire you. Like, what's the number that you have to be to get his attention? 1 million? 500?
I don't know. I only have a couple 100,000 followers.
I think
that's actually a lot.
I mean,
it's not compared to the Beavers.
It's not Tom Welling numbers.
Beavers got 100 million. Tom, you got like 450,000 followers.
Well, that's not enough for this guy.
No, but those YouTubers have 20 million.
That's crazy.
I'm talking numbers on IMDb Pro, like your number, your star meter.
Oh, you said social media
thought you
followers.
Well, that too.
Instagram.
But star meter's bigger.
Oh.
Like
For
if
this
your
guy?
number, like, if you're like number 20, it's like,
How doesn't that work? That just means that you're popular like right now.
maybe.
But if you hire somebody to do a movie right now, it doesn't come out for a year. That person might not be popular a year from now.
I don't know. It seems like the same people are always up there. Like, DiCaprio is probably top 15 all the time.
Well-
but he's DiCaprio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he deserves it. I mean, he's good in everything.
Well, Gene Hackman's better.
DiCaprio's. I think he's working on something where he's going to play Lex Luthor. DiCaprio is. Yeah.
Is he? You fuck. I was like, oh my God. I really was like, wait, what? It's funny is
You don't guarantee you can't.
I text James Gunn. I go, dude, I'm not asking you for anything, but you're doing Suicide Squad. And if I'm not playing Lex Luthor,
That would be dope.
but he just goes,
He said you didn't have enough Instagram
just sit
followers.
tight. Just fuck off. I have a feeling that means that there's probably not going to be a Lex Luthor in the Suicide Squad.
No, Leonardo DiCaprio got casted
There you go.
First, it's,
for it. For Suicide Squad.
It's right there. It's on the internet. It must
Swear to
be
God.
real. There's a picture of it.
let me see it. You're a fucking liar.
Oh, yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio, Lex Luthor.
Is he really?
There he is in character for it.
He's not playing this. You fuck. Jesus.
I mean, it's on the internet. It must be true.
Yeah. Doesn't that piss you off though? They're like, oh, he was a great Lex Luthor, or he was a great Clark Kent. So they were on TV, so they can't be great in film.
I don't understand that either.
It's just stupid. It's just, especially when the fans are like going, listen to the fans every once in a while. Just
Yeah.
every once in a while, listen to them. Do you think it would hurt DC if they cast me,
Right.
who played it for 7 or 10 or whatever you want to say years? I'm just not blowing smoke, but they've done these polls of the better Lex Luthors.
And who people wanna see.
I'm just saying, do you think it would hurt DC? Do you think they'd go from 100 million weekend? Oh, it's Rosenbaum instead of so you know what? It's going to be 5 million. Do you think that it's all of a sudden going to ruin the franchise for a Lex Luthor that has worked to then play? Am I upset about this?
Please comment and subscribe. Let's start a poll. I don't think you want to see this.
Why would? What is it?
I don't think you want
The
to.
15 best actors who should have played Lex Luthor. Joaquin Phoenix, Michael Fassbender, Bryan Cranston would be great. Bradley Cooper, Michael C. Hall.
The best.
Yeah, these guys
Matthew
are great,
McConaughey.
but they didn't play it, so we don't know. It's a moot point. They didn't play it for 7 years.
This one, number 11 on the top 13 moments of 2019. This guy became a friend. We ended up doing a podcast called In Love with Michael Rosenbaum and Chris Sullivan. And he really taught me about being grateful. Thank you, Chris Sullivan. I love you. And if you guys want, you could subscribe and listen to In Love with Michael Rosenbaum and Chris Sullivan. It wouldn't hurt you, but you could.
It is frequently mislabeled as depression, but it's this feeling of worthlessness and that the world is a terrible place that eats away at me or at a lot of people. But I believe that all of these years when I thought, oh, maybe I'm depressed, maybe I need this, maybe I need this, is this idea of it's just negative self-talk. It's negative self-thinking. It's low self-esteem. It's a lot of things rolled up into one, but it seems to be like it was too complicated an idea that it was like, laziness. We'll just call it laziness. We'll call it sloth. And that type of thinking is something that you have to actively fight against because we all have it inside us. That you look around at everything that's happening in the world. If you look around long enough and you're not depressed by what you see, I don't know anyone who, especially now, is able to kind of process everything that's happening in the world without ending up a little down.
Acedia.
Tell
me about how you deal with it. How every day. It sounds to me like it's part of like cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
You know, thinking positively, changing the way you think. Correct.
Yeah, therapy. It's living in conscious gratitude, writing it down, sharing it with others.
Rob, will you write this
wife.
down? Seriously. 'Cause I'm not going to listen to this because I'm doing it right now. Well, write that down because I want to do that. I think writing down positive things like, I am grateful I have a new puppy, Blanche.
You know what we could do every day, and I do it with a couple of my friends. We have my wife and I have different text threads going. Today I am grateful for ... 3 things. You and I could do that. And we could do it every day, and it doesn't have to be a big conversation. Gosh. It could be 3 things that we just send to each other. And when it's written down and when it's shared with someone else, it becomes this tangible thing in our lives that we can use throughout the day to remember to kind of get outside of ourselves.
Number 10 on the top 13 list of 2019, Julie Benz. This is cool because Julie, she like goes into my DM, not because she's hitting on me, she's married, but she'll slide in and be like, dude, your episode with so-and-so was so amazing. It really touched me. She listens to them. And when actors, your peers, are listening to the podcast, folks, it makes me feel like I'm doing something right. And I'm just honored by it. And her talking about her panic attack right after getting killed off in Dexter, just listen.
Probably like 10 years ago, I just had to accept what it meant to be an actor. In order to love the good of our jobs when it's good and all the goodness that goes with it, you also have to accept the bad parts that go with it.
You can accept the bad parts.
You have to. You can't just have the good without the bad.
What's the worst thing that happened to you as an actress?
The worst thing? I mean,
in terms of rejection or whatever.
I mean, getting killed off Dexter was pretty bad. I had no idea. I had no idea that was coming.
When did they tell you?
3 days before.
Who called you?
They called me in on my day off to do some ADR, and then they called me to the producer's room. And I knew walking from the ADR stage to the producer's room, when you get called to the producers, you're being killed off a show. I mean, it's just, you just know that.
Were you getting an anxiety attack?
Yeah, I suffer from panic attacks, and I started having a panic attack, and I called my manager at the time, and I said, oh my God, I think they're killing me off. And this is what he said. He's like, all right, kid, okay. Because he knows I suffer from panic attacks. And he's like, just get in and out as fast as you can. Just say thank you and get out. And I was like, okay. And then I called my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, and I said, and he's not in the business, and I said, oh my God, I'm walking to the producer's office. I think I'm being killed off the show. And he's like, maybe they're giving you a raise, which like really broke my heart because I was like, no, they don't call it. No. You don't get a raise that way.
Hey, Julie, great 4 seasons. You're making what Dexter makes.
Yeah. I'm like, it doesn't happen that way. You got to fight for the raise. And then he said the same thing. And he said, just get in and out as fast as you can and get home, and I'll meet you at home. So I tried to get in and out as fast as I could. Like I walked in the room and I said, I know what this is about.
How many people were in the room?
It was 3. The 3 executive producers.
All men?
No, 1 woman.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank God there was a woman in there.
And I said, thank you so much for a great 4 years. I've appreciated every moment.
You said that?
I did.
Before they said a word?
Before they said a word. I said, I'm smart enough to know what's going on. So thank you for a great 4 years. Let's talk tomorrow. And because I'm feeling the panic attack coming on.
And what did they say?
They wanted to have, to have a conversation. And so then I had to sit down and...
And it's true now.
But wait, let me really set the stage, because to make matters worse, I worked out at a gym right by the studio. And so I'd worked out that morning, and it was really hot like today hot. So I was only in a sports bra and a pair of like leggings. And I went to do ADR.
So they rehired you.
I went to do ADR that way. So all I could think about was, what was that movie where the guy gets broken up with while he's naked? Is it Forgetting
Sarah Marshall?
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That's all I could think about was like, I don't have a shirt on and I'm losing my job. And I'm like sitting there like trying to.
Oh, so vulnerable.
Like I felt so vulnerable. But they wanted to discuss it. They wanted to tell me the reasons why. And I, they needed to do that for their own clarity, I guess. Their own therapy. Because everybody was upset about it. But
did you cry in the room?
I did, which I didn't want to.
Did they hug you?
They did, but I was sweaty and smelled. Didn't have clothes on, basically.
Were you bawling?
I was really upset.
You loved the show.
I loved it. Also, it was such a great family. And then here you are being told like, okay, well, we're still going to like get together as a family, but like, You're on your own. So it was really hard.
How long did it take you to
traumatic.
recover from that?
It took a while. I
Did you have to
remember.
go to therapy for that?
I did.
Did they pay for it?
No.
They should have.
They should have. I remember I met Elizabeth Mitchell right after. I was doing some little indie film, and I was working with her. And the episode hadn't aired yet, so nobody really knew. And I was talking to her on set one day, and I told her about it. And she had been killed off of Lost, and it was a very similar situation where like didn't tell the actor until the last minute. They didn't tell her till the last minute or whatever. And I was like, they want me to do press for the show and do interviews after it airs. Like, how do I handle that? And she's like, just be honest, which is what I did. I was like, yeah, I got killed off the show. It sucked for me. Like, I was upset,
Jeez.
And that's just the only way I know how to deal with that. So it was hard. And my therapist was really great because, when I went to see him and I was crying and I was like, everybody knows. I felt like I got fired. That's what it feels like. You get fired. And he said to me, he's like, listen, when I'm watching a really great show and a character gets killed off, I'm not thinking, oh my God, that actor just got fired. I'm thinking, well, this is great storytelling.
Number 9 is a guy that, afterwards, he's like, look, I don't really talk about this stuff. I don't know. Was it weird? Was it, he's so another authentic guy. I think a lot of these guests I get on the show are just authentic. And I think maybe it's just my soft-spokenness that brings it out in them. Ryan Tellez.
Why are you talking like that?
I don't know, man.
Why are you
I don't
doing
know. Bobcat Goldthwait.
Goldthwait.
Number 9 on the top 13 moments of 2019. Here's Bobcat.
Lately, that's my thing. I've been really connecting with old friends on purpose.
Why?
Just because you just talk a lot of shit. Hey, let's get together. Boy, we had fun. And now I actually do it. Like I buy a ticket. I fly across the country.
Doesn't that take a lot of your time?
It doesn't matter.
Because it's meaningful.
And it's also just like, oh, do you remember that day you worked on that script all day? Or do you remember that time you surprised Tony on his 65th birthday? Which am I going to remember?
What's the project you're most proud of that you've worked on that you're like?
I think it's like Call Me Lucky, and I think World's Greatest Dad, the movie I did with Robin. I like those movies. I like them all for different reasons, but those are the two where I felt...
You had the most fun?
No, it was the two where I think I kind of came closest to what I was trying to do.
Do you get over shit quickly?
No, I mean, that's why, like I said to my friend this other fellow who I'd worked with and I did know, and he was a really good guy, Kevin Barnett. He passed away, but I went to his two closest friends, Josh and Jermaine, and I was like, when this happens, you kind of feel like you're not allowed to live your life because you're forgetting this person, because these guys were so close to him. Like, if I laugh, I feel like I'm betraying Robin. If I continue my life, I feel like I'm betraying him, but I'm not. He would want me to.
Of course.
And it's hard. It's easier if it's not someone who takes their own life, but when someone dies, it's an arm and that's missing, and it is in a way, but you will experience joy again.
That's I think that comes from experience, and that comes from just living and hitting rock bottom. And
so many times, yeah.
So many times that you're like going, I mean,
because
what's the alternative?
When someone dies, you think, well, I'm going to do this, we're going to have a memorial and that'll help. And it won't. Or it does for some in some ways, but it doesn't. Or I'm going to go on a trip and go to a beach, and that doesn't do it. I think time is the thing,
Do you ugly cry? Do you go home by yourself and cry like no one's ever seen a person cry?
No, it's funny. I well up at a commercial, but then those big blowout cries, it's been a long time since
What's the last time you had one of those?
I think it was when Robin passed away, but it was weird because it didn't come at all when people expected it to.
What about success?
I was on a plane.
Wait, you were on a plane when you found out? And you had
No. I'd found out and everything, but the big ugly cry came when I was on a plane. Robin had the worst taste in music. He really just all apologies to anybody.
I probably love it. I bet it's like cheesy music.
No, but it's just like just anything. Like for some reason that wasn't something he was passionate about. Strange. So in World's Greatest Dad, the song Under Pressure is used in a couple ways. It's used comedically and then it's used at the end of the film. And he loved it and he's like, I'm gonna make that my song. Like he wanted that song when he walked onto a talk show. He wanted that.
Under Pressure.
He wanted that, but no way people are going to play Rockin' Robin or,
right.
some bullshit from Aladdin or something. So, and I just put on my headset and that song came on and then I just lost my mind. On a plane, I just like.
Was someone next to you? Did they see
I don't know what they were making. I just buried my face in the window and I just
lost
sobbed
it.
and sobbed, yeah.
Number 8. This is a woman who I've always been in love with. I do this charity called Echoes of Hope for foster youth, and I host it. And I always see her in the crowd. She's part of it, and I would introduce her, or I'd say some funny things, and I'd sort of be, I had a crush. And one time she gave me a kiss on the lips, and we're buddies. I'm obviously, not her kind of guy. I wear sweatpants. But she's a real down-to-earth girl. But what I loved about this podcast, this moment, or these moments, is that I really felt bad because when she's talking about working with Bill Murray, and I'm like, did he hug you? Did he? Just listen to what she says. This is really profound. Andy McDowell.
Have you ever had sex with Bill Murray?
No, I did not. I wasn't even sure Bill liked me, to tell you the truth. I was doing everything I could.
Would you have, if he was attracted to you and into it, did you find him so talented and funny that you might have considered it were you single at the time?
No, I wasn't interested in having anything.
You've never cheated. You're not that girl.
I'm not going to say whether I was purely pure. I'm not going to get into that. But I can tell you I didn't sleep with Bill Murray.
Did Bill Murray make you laugh all the time? Was he improvising a lot, or was he just...
He did improvise a lot. Bill is moody. He's a moody person. And so it depended on his moods, whether he was making me laugh or not. He can be intimidating.
Of course, he's like one of the biggest comedic geniuses of all time.
He is a genius. I will give him credit for that.
Did he make you ever, was he the same person off camera as he was on camera?
He's as weird as he can be. He's a very strange person.
I meant when you're doing your lines, does he give you what you give him?
When I was working with him, all you have to do is be present and pay attention and be involved in the scene because he's so good and they're always different. So it's the best acting you can do because it's not formulated. Like some people just over prepare and it's just like bad acting. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it was never like that. It was always fresh and authentic and sort of in the moment. Very spontaneous. He's extremely spontaneous, and you just had to listen and react. So it's that whole Meisner thing, which I wasn't even like a huge Meisner student, but it's pretty simple formula to listen and pay attention and be present.
Did Bill Murray ever look at you and say, "You were really great in the movie. You really shine"?
Hell no.
It was a joy to work with you.
Oh my God!
Never.
No.
He never said, "I loved working with you."
No. I would be floored.
He never said, "Andy."
No.
Great take.
No.
Andy, you look stunning today.
I don't think so.
You worked with him 3 months on Groundhog's Day.
I don't know if it was 3 months.
He never once...
I don't have any memories of that. I was intimidated by him, but always kind. I kind of felt like that's how to deal with him.
Was he kind
Sometimes.
Was he always in
You're
going
to get me in big fat trouble. No, I don't think he wants to work with me again either. I don't get that from him.
I don't think there's going to be a Groundhog's Day 2.
No, it's not. I do think he's a genius. And I have seen him since then. And it's the same kind of feeling when I see him. I adore him. I would do anything if he would hug me. That would mean so much to me, but it's not going to happen.
Isn't that something? How that's all you wanted, really? Was if he just gave you one hug?
I think, that would be, he's just the kind of person that, for me, I felt like I was constantly, I might cry. This is terrible. Constantly trying to please him. Like everything I did, like every moment of every second I was around him, it was to try to keep him happy and to please him.
Inside of You is brought to you by Sun Basket. Juice cleanse, Ryan? Intermittent fasting, carbs, cycling? Struggle to see long-lasting results from any of these. What if instead you tried eating real food, dude? No matter your lifestyle, Sun Basket caters to your kind of healthy with delicious recipes for all kinds of dietary preferences, including paleo, gluten-free, Mediterranean, vegetarian, and more. I just got 3 bags of gluten-free, everything I needed to make a delicious meal. I like things when they're brought to my house with everything pre-portioned. That's what I need. Ready to prep and cook. That's it. You don't need to go, I need 3/10 of a spoon of paprika. What's it called?
Paprika?
Mm-hmm.
That's a new thing.
You can enjoy a dinner full of organic produce and clean ingredients in as little as 15 minutes. No matter how much experience you have in the kitchen. And that's exactly, I took a nutrition class and I didn't do well. But it doesn't matter because this stuff's easy. Each week, Sunbasket offers at least 14 recipes to choose from, so you can try mouth-watering dishes such as salmon burgers with lemon dill mayo, gingered steak stir-fried with broccoli, Mediterranean garlic shrimp, Spanish rice. I love this stuff. They brought everything to me. It tasted fresh and delicious. I was inspired. I felt like I was accomplishing something, and it didn't take me 3 hours to make a meal. It was quick. And when they say you are what you eat, Ryan, it's not a joke, man. Right now, Sunbasket is offering $35 off your order when you go right now to sunbasket.com/inside and enter promo code INSIDE at checkout.
That's sunbasket.com/inside and enter promo code INSIDE at checkout for $35 off your order.
Sunbasket.com/inside and enter promo code INSIDE. Number 7, again, this is out of order. But this guy, I got to tell you, he got me in the wellness center. He told me about it. He told me about his life. He opened up. We cried about our moms the first time he was on. The second time, I learned even more. He's going to come back. He wants to interview me on the show. Also worth talking about maybe doing live podcasts, not just Zach and I, myself, inside of you, taking it on the road. Do you think people would come and watch?
Yeah, sure.
'Cause I've been to others, and it's like, oh, there's hundreds of people here. I think
absolutely.
I think it'd be embarrassing if I showed up and there's 8 people there. But I guess what do you do, right? You're like, hey, thanks for coming.
Yeah, just do it anyway.
You do it anyway.
Of course.
You got to stop worrying about other people or, what's the word when it's like validation. Like, oh, 200 people came, so that means you're good or worthy. Fuck that, man. How about I love the podcast. People love the podcast. If they show up, they show up.
And what if one of those 8 people is the Dalai Lama?
That would be pretty cool, man.
That could happen.
Maybe they come on stage.
Yeah.
He'd come on stage.
Yeah, why not?
All right, this guest, number 7, again, in no particular order. Number 7 of the top 13 moments of 2019, Zachary Levi.
I had this conversation with Dax Shepard on a plane where it started to get heated, where he was talking about mental illness, and I was like agreeing, but I was also saying sexual molesting.
Yeah.
Jesus, I can't speak. But as a kid, there was some things that happened to me that I dodged some bullets, and I remember the feeling I had as a child, so scared, so nervous, what's going to happen? And I wasn't even molested, but it was close. I escaped. And I could tell you that story all the time. And I will say that now when I hear these stories, I can relate to that scared little boy or girl that's going through that in a small way where I'm like,
oh, look, I was molested when I was a kid by another kid. And the ramifications of that have followed me throughout my entire life, literally introducing me to sex at a time when
you shouldn't have been introduced to it.
You shouldn't be introduced.
How old were you?
About 5, I think 4 or 5, something like that.
It's amazing. Most
We
people
just moved back from. Oh, what?
Most people can't remember what they did when they were 5, but
Oh, dude, I have vivid memories starting around 3 or 4. I mean, I don't remember all of it, but I mean, I have very vivid, tangible memories. And also, you know, of course, I have to always assume that there could be some romanticizing in my own brain. You know, like, do you really remember moments exactly the way, even as an adult, do you remember a moment exactly how it went down? Or do you have there, you know, there's all kinds of studies on this kind of, you know, you remember somebody wearing a black suit when they were wearing a blue suit or whatever. I don't know. I'm not professing I know everything that happened to me exactly when I was a child, but I know what happened to me.
It's
when
so
I was
crazy
a child.
you said that because I've never really talked about this, but the same thing happened to me. It was another kid.
Oh, so that did happen.
And I never have talked about it, but now that you've talked about it, I feel like, fuck it.
This is the first time we talked about it.
I think this might be the first time that I've talked about this, like on this. But, you know, I talked to my therapist about it. I go,
Oh, so you've talked to these therapists
yes,
about it.
yes. Yeah. And I said, has this affected me? And he looked at me and said, no, it didn't affect you. Because the person was it was young. You were both young. It's hard to explain because you looked at me like, wait, what are you saying? What I'm saying was they weren't old enough to think. They were a teenager. I was young. We were similar in age. It was, you know, but I felt like, I was like, but this was still wrong. This was still something that I blocked out for many, many years. And then I told him about it. And I really wanted him to tell me, yeah, you're fucked up because of this. And he said, you're not. It didn't affect you.
Wait. I mean, but that's a big
statement.
Well, it's a big statement, but it's also a big spectrum. Like you might not be fucked up by it, but I'm sorry, I don't agree that you weren't affected. Every single thing that happens in our day affects us.
What I'm saying is, how old was the person that, you know?
I mean, I think that kid was like 2 years older.
So it was a 7 and a 5-year-old. So
something like that.
I think what my therapist was saying, it was an exploration. It was more of like,
well, yeah,
not on my behalf.
Yeah,
I didn't want to explore.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, is that I think that this kid, I mean, I think that his looking back on it with the now the mind that I have and the heart that I have and the understanding that I have throughout my life, clearly that kid was being molested by somebody in his life. The way that all of that went down and the way that how it affected me then even after that, like, yes, sure, at young ages kids are exploring and doing things, and that's totally understandable. I don't feel like it was an adult, you know, being a predator on me,
right?
And by the way, what I was trying to say. I never even judged the kid, but my mom freaked out.
See, nobody knew about this.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody knew about this.
Yeah, so there was all kinds of effects. I mean, even if nobody knew about it, it still would have an effect on me.
And when I say I blocked it out, I just didn't think anything was like, I was so young that I didn't think anything was wrong with it. So all of a sudden, I'm like 30. One day I just go, hey, that happened.
Yeah, that happened.
Wait a minute, that happened. Wow. Why do I remember that now? It was the craziest fucking thing. I mean, and do you think you were affected, or do you?
Oh, and definitely was affected. I mean, that compounded by all of the other issues that I was going through held and carried throughout my childhood, and having a psychologically abusive mom because she was psychologically abused, and all of the ways that manifested in my life as a kid, and with my sisters and my stepdad who was also an abused. I guaranteed he was abused when he was growing up, and then he became an abusive person when he was older. And I wouldn't change any of it now at all, because now I'm on the other side of it and can look back on it and actually appreciate the fact that it brought me to being healthy, or in a journey of being. I mean, I'm not saying I'm completely, you know, absolved and this is all good and I'm like, you know, whatever, Thetan level 9 or whatever. I'm just saying, I've now gotten to the other side of what that darkness that wanted to kill me was doing, and I was able to pierce through and love of friends and family and the tools that I learned in all that therapy to get through that darkness. And then from the other side of the darkness, be able to look back and go, oh yeah, shit, yeah, all that happened and all of it led me to here. And I'm grateful for all of that stuff that led me to here, because now on this side, I get to talk about all that.
Number 6 is probably Ryan Tejas, my engineer's favorite. I've known this guy a long time. I remember when he was doing The State, and I was like, you're so funny. And little did I know, I mean, he made very little money on that show. It was a big group of people on The State. And then he would do these, 3 lines here, funny guy in a scene, fighting. 3 bangers. You know what 3 bangers are?
No.
They're the trailer. When you get a trailer, you either get a big trailer because you're the lead, or you get a double banger because there's 2 rooms in a trailer because, you're maybe a second lead, or then a triple banger, a 3 banger. You could be an extra. I think he was on like a 10 banger.
With all the members of the state.
There was just like his room was the size of, because I've had those rooms where it's honestly, you could go in there. I'm not sure if there's even a urinal in there. I think you have to go to the men's room. But anyway, I mean, he fought. And you know what I think what we got from this podcast, you tell me what you got. He talks about entitlement. He talks about how you can't expect anything given to you in life. And boy, is that true. Is there anything you want to change about yourself, Ryan?
Things.
All right. Thanks for being so open. Not to have you as a guest.
I'm not a guest.
I know.
I'm just getting paid to be here. When you want me to open up?
Is that all you are? But I mean, you get sad, right? You cry.
Sure, get sad. No.
Do you cry?
Yeah.
You cry alone, or you cry in front of people?
No, I've cried in front of. I mean, I think we talked about this before. I've cried in front of my girlfriend Amanda, but it's mostly with movie stuff.
Right, I know that, but I'm talking about like, I don't know, my dad or.
No, I mean it's just like a lot. I get anxious all the time. I'm an anxious person.
Do you meditate?
I don't, because I don't think I'd have the patience.
But you know what? That's what everybody thinks. And dude, I meditated for 20 minutes, and if I told you 2 minutes, my mind was clear. It's worth it just to maybe get 2 minutes. I'm telling you, you just keep doing it. You think my mind doesn't keep effing going? It does. So Joe Latruglio, number 6 of the top 13 moments of 2019.
This is a very interesting part of the conversation we're segueing into now, because what you're talking about is accepting when your time is, right? I had a long time accepting when my time was going to be. Many actors go through that. Mark Evan Jackson just did a podcast with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I was talking about Brooklyn Nine-Nine in that I almost didn't go in for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I almost didn't get Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I'd gone in, I put myself on tape for Allison Jones. Then they wanted me to come back in for a callback or a session. And at that point, it was during a very kind of dark time in my career, in my head about my career. Like, you know what? I've done Superbad. I've done all these like little movies. Like, enough's enough. Like, everyone knows what I can do. Like, cast me or don't cast me. But like, I'm tired of it. The ego was overwhelming, swallowing me up. And so I almost didn't go. And if I didn't go, I would not be on the show, clearly. More importantly, the lesson learned is that no one owes you anything. And if you're doing a job because you're expecting to get another job, you got to find what you like about it. I know that you hear it all the time. You find the joy in what you do. But the older you get, you realize that's really the truth, because it put me in such a mood of I owe this and people know what I can do and just give it to me. Entitlement, that it really starts to weigh you down, and it starts to infiltrate you in negative ways, and you don't enjoy where you're around. I remember Ken Marino, that's why he's such a great guy. His wife, Erica Oyama, wrote this really funny digital series called Burning Love that Ken was in.
I love
it. So many funny people were in that. And I was shooting that, and I was just in a terrible mood. And like Ken had to bring me aside. Like while we're shooting, I didn't know disruption during the set, but between takes, I was just like not the greatest of moods. And he's like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "Man," I said, "Ken, I love you. I love this. This is so funny. Like, am I just going to be doing this? Like web shows?" Like it was really narrow-minded, ungrateful type of stuff. And he heard me as a friend and he related. And here I am talking to someone that also hadn't got his big break. Ken's amazing. He's in all this stuff, but also hadn't gotten his break. And you realize you just end up sounding like a complete asshole because you can't see your path. You can't see when is your time. And it took me a while. And if I had kept in that kind of mode, well, then I don't get Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And now Brooklyn Nine-Nine has given me a gift that is above and beyond. I mean, I have a new family. I've gone through life changes. Several of us have gotten married. Several of us have had kids, including myself. If I had like, no, fuck it, I'm not going in, that is not open to me anymore. That's not here. And that's a very humbling place to be when you're like, now I'm getting it. The struggle's real. Even after you think you've made the big time, not the big time, but like Superbad. I did Superbad. I'm like, that movie was huge. I'm like, oh, well, here we go. It's only a matter of time now. Start getting the calls. Here they come. They don't come. You know, you still have to go in. You still have to do all that stuff. So you just have to keep it in check because no one owes you anything. No one's going to give you the money for the movie. No one's going to write the script for you. No one's going to like create the ideal part for you. You find it, you get it, or just follow. Or if you don't know how to get it, follow things that are coming at you, that are opening up to you, and maybe that will lead you there.
This number 5 was pretty emotional. I couldn't believe that he actually teared up on the show. It makes me feel like they're comfortable. They're comfortable enough to talk about their stuff in front of me, and I truly appreciate it. I think this is a guy who loves his family, loves his fans, loves fame, which I think is okay when you're in a healthy place. You can love fame and do great things because of fame. Fame can give you the opportunity to help people, and I think that's what Joe does. You should check out his Netflix specials. He's brilliant. Go see him live, which was even better. But let's get into number 5 of the top 13 moments of 2019.
Do you feel like you fit in?
I don't know. I feel like I have like this different mindset now. I feel like with my accomplishments, I'm like, yeah, I belong here, man. I walk into a party and I'm like, yeah.
But you did feel like that before. There was a time
before
where
I was like, whoa, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But then I'm starting to get love from other celebs and I'm just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, people love you. How many people come up to you a day?
A lot.
A lot.
Kind of crazy. Yeah, it's a lot. It's kind of weird because the Netflix is what put it over.
And you're doing another one, right?
I got 2 more coming.
You got 2 more coming.
Yeah. But you know, Mike, I didn't get that first one, man. Did I tell you my story?
I want to hear it.
I didn't get it. They passed on me. So when they made that big push for stand-up comedy, it was like 2016, and they announced it 2015 that they were going to do like this huge push for stand-up, and they were going to go after all these comics. And I was like, I want to get on that. You know, I didn't want to go to Comedy Central again. I wanted to be on Netflix, and we kept pursuing them, kept inviting them to come to the shows, and you know, I'm selling 18 shows in a row. Like, come to one, just see what I'm doing. Like, please give this to me. And they weren't coming. And then finally they were like, we're gonna pass. We already got everybody for 2016, and you know, we'll come out and look at you on 2017 for 2018. I'm like, my son's gonna be 20 by then. You know,
were you heartbroken?
Yeah, I was crushed because I didn't get it, and I'm not.
What did you think it was? What did you think it was?
I don't know. Was it politics? I don't know what it was. Was I not ready? Because I thought I was very ready. It was proven. Like, I mean, my demo shows that it's relatable. It's, you know, I'm killing it. And so I was really like hurt, you know.
I deserve this. I've worked hard.
And not only that, when you have a son, it's like you know, especially in this business, man, like especially comedy, it's like, how do you show your son that I was appreciated or something? You know what I mean? Like, whenever you say I'm a stand-up comic, everyone always like, oh, really, where? Tell me a joke. Or they'll do something stupid like that if they don't know you. And this was that moment. This was what I needed. Like, this is what I wanted my son to be like, yeah, that's my dad. You know, like it was more than just me. It was like, it was everything, you know? It was everything I worked for. And I was just like, I want to, when I die, I want my son to be like, that's my dad. You know what I mean? So I could have done the hate thing. I could have went on Twitter and just done that whole deflecting the energy, you know what I mean? And absorbing just negativity and just bashing. I could have done that. I really could have.
Did you think about it?
A lot of people would have went to, no, I mean, I was mad because I felt like, I was like, yo, I deserve this. And I don't understand why this, you know, I said, who doesn't say that? Oh, he got one, but I didn't get one. She got one. I didn't get one. You could do that all day.
Yeah,
but that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything though. No matter how many times people say no to you, you just, I don't know, you got to dig deep and show them, you know? And I literally paid for that special, man. I paid every fucking penny, Mike.
Paid?
The whole thing.
How much?
Man, I can't tell you that because in the agreement when they bought it from me, they
Disclosure.
they doubled it. Yeah, they gave me my money plus some more.
Let me just say, was it over $100,000?
More.
That you put
more.
your own money way more.
Way more.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, let me tell you why I went way more. Because I could have went that route. We could have shot it for $100,000.
Right.
You know,
So you wanna stay
I could have went to I could have went to any improv, got 3 cameras, and shot it. And I could have said, oh, well, the materials is what's going to sell it. Or I can make it look like something that Netflix put money into. Yeah, like this is something that they would be proud of.
So after that, you edit this together.
Yeah.
You put it together, and your agent and you guys send it back to Netflix. The same guys.
Yeah, we walked it in.
What do you mean you walked it in?
Well, I didn't walk it in. They walked it in.
Right, because you said we.
Well, I know. Well, it is me. And my team is me. And my team is me.
Right.
And that's my work.
You're a team player.
Yeah.
And so they hand this to them. They didn't watch it then. They watched it on their own.
They watched it in a group. All of the execs watched it.
And how soon after they watched
bought it the minute we dropped it. It was like maybe a day later. Or, well, this is what they said. We dropped it, and they said, don't shop it around. And then right when they got it, they watched it, and then they called my agent, and they go, don't shop it around. We want to put in an offer. So just take it off the market.
And when he told you that,
I cried.
I was going to ask you, did you cry on the phone?
Hell yeah, I'm crying right now.
Are you? Yeah. That's a beautiful fucking thing. You really are crying.
I know.
I fucking love that.
Yeah, man. It was big.
You're a real guy, dude. You're a real fucking... You have that heart in you that just... and I knew it when I met you, that inviting sort of... You love people, you love life, but you're passionate about what you do. You're so passionate what you do. I love that you're crying. You're going to make me cry. Make Rob cry.
Fuck Rob.
You, Rob.
Fuck you, Rob.
Dude.
That was my dream.
You wanted a special.
Yeah. It's from delirious to that. Like, that's all I lived.
Oh.
And, that's all I wanted to be was a stand-up comic. So them saying no was like, what? And I had to show them. So
what a fucking story, dude. I don't know how many people would do what you did. Like I said, this is going to be a special year, folks. I hope you stick around and tell your friends. Force your friends to subscribe in a non-threatening way. Remember, video is coming back. We're doing video for Inside of You. It's going to be coming hopefully sooner than later. Stay tuned, but please keep listening. Also, if you want to write into the podcast, remember, hello@insideofyoupodcast.com. We love this stuff. We love reading stuff. It touches me, the letters I've gotten from you. Again, your support, the patrons, joining Patreon and subscribing to the show and giving back and getting extra supplemental material and videos and all that stuff really helps. So thank you all for that. I really appreciate that. Number 4 on the Inside of You Top 13 Moments of 2019. Wow, this was a guest that just said, fuck it. She just opened up about her sexuality. She loved sex. She had a lot of it. Her relationship with Al Pacino, which we're going to listen to now, a little bit crazy story about being boxed out by Pacino's criminal business manager, and a beautiful moment between our dear friend Carrie Fisher, who passed away 3 years ago this past Christmas. It was crazy, man. 2 weeks before she passed away 3 years ago, she had a party for her 60th birthday at her house, and I brought her some cupcakes and some stuff, and then when she went off to film Star Wars, I still have the message on my machine. Maybe I'll play it for you sometime. But she said, "Hey, asshole," or something. I'll be back in a couple. I'll be back next week. Let's all get together. And that was it. And it wasn't but like a week after that she passed. And still in shock. Sometimes I just sit there and go. I had this little room where it's just all my Carrie stuff, just like a picture of her chair from Force Awakens that she gave me, and pictures and little things like that. And she'd say, "I know you love this shit, take it." She didn't care that I was a Star Wars fan. Usually when you're like friends with people that you're kind of a fan of, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's a little weird, but it's not like I always looked at her like she was Princess Leia. It was like I knew Carrie. I know more about Carrie
than a lot of people. I know the moments when she was married to Paul Simon. I know the letters that her and her ex would write to each other. I know so much. There was a real friendship. She knows about my family. She knew. Sorry, I feel like she's still here. But hearing this interview with Beverly D'Angelo, who was also way closer, just a dear, dear friend of Carrie's, talking. You could hear Carrie's voice when she plays a little video. But let's get into Beverly D'Angelo, number 4 on the top 13 moments of 2019.
You know,
and you guys get along now.
Yeah.
Now that took a while.
Well, it took a while. It took until I just went, this guy is never going to change. He's never like, this is.
Well, when you met, were you in love? You were in love?
Oh, instantaneously.
Right?
Yeah.
And you thought this is the way it is. And he says, I want you to be the mother of my children.
3 months in.
3 months in.
And then 7 years later, 2 kids later, it was like not happening.
Was that heartbreaking for you? Or was it?
It was very much, the rug was very much, it was very, there was a lot of internecine shit going on. He had there was a parallel story. He had a business manager named Ken Starr, not the guy who did the Clinton thing.
Right.
But after I had the kids, I became more involved and more privy to his financial scene, because I was always independent financially from the get-go. But then I'd been on bed rest for 7 months, the kids, twins, I got pregnant when I was 40. I mean, I was definitely not working. I was holding down the fort.
Right.
So anyway, the kids were like 6 months old, and long story, it was covered in Vanity Fair, so I'm not going to get into it.
Right.
I've already told
Read
that
Vanity
story.
Fair, but
anyway,
in a nutshell,
what happens? I said when the kids were 6 months old, I said, your business manager's a crook. And I said, 5 years from now, it's going to be you and me and the kids, or you and him, because there's something screwy going on. He'd done something. And little did I know that I was igniting the fuse of a criminal. And that was in 2001. And he was also a lawyer. So Al, I had finally by the time the kids were 2, I'd gotten Al to agree to audit him. And, we had kind of ramped up to this audit that was supposed to happen. And right before I was going to leave for LA, I was in the country house, and the estate manager called and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just online, And he said, are the kids asleep? And I went, yeah, why? Because it was like 6:30. And he said, I just wondered. And then there's a knock at the door, because there were 2 houses on the knock at the door, and Bob, the state manager, says, I just want you to know I'm quitting tomorrow. And I went, okay. And then the guy standing beside him said, are you Beverly D'Angelo? And I said, yeah. And he went, you've been served. So I open up this envelope, and it's a
subpoena?
It's a custody filing. And it's Al, signed by the business manager, because he's a lawyer.
Ken
so
Starr.
And it's a custody file, and it was odd. And it said, that Al was filing in court to get a grant to be able to take the kids anywhere with him without the mother. It was worded even weird.
What the fuck did this come out of?
I called him up and said, what is this? And he goes, well, we're not married. So it's just, a custody thing. Because if you're not married, you don't, whatever. And I was like, huh? And I went, well, do I need a lawyer? And he went, oh, the court will give you one. I went, the court? So I'm like, what the fuck is happening? The thing is, I would go over to see Carrie and just stay there. And we traveled all over we were never out of touch, but we had a lot of serious hang time. And one thing I did learn how to do, starting out early as like a flower child floating around all over the place and a musician, was hanging, which is what I love. You just like make it up as you go along. And if there's music in it. So inevitably, whenever we'd get together, and it was something that Griffin Dunn actually said in that Bright Lights documentary about her, I really picked up on that when he said that when they were roommates in New York, that they just sang all day long, I'm going into the kitchen.
That's exactly how she would sound. You sounded like her in a way.
That's right. So anyway, so that was a big part of our life. So the other day, I don't know how I found this, but I was
Yeah, set
looking
this
at my
up.
phone, and I found a video that in a nutshell was really what our relationship was. Our relationship was agendaless. When you think about two women who were actresses and
Agendaless.
agendaless, and that
Yes.
we just hung out together. And I really do think that one of the ingredients of our friendship was that what we wanted from each other was friendship.
That's it.
It wasn't like, oh, this person, because
Unconditional
Carrie
love,
would have
just let's-
Carrie would have friends that, were as a result of work or professional,
And they'd be there.
thing, and they'd be there for a while, and then
Yeah.
they'd be gone when that mission was accomplished.
Right.
But we always had that
Yeah.
thing. Anyway, so I found this video that we made. She'd just gotten her dog Gary.
So I'm going to play the audio because the
Yeah,
video
and
obviously is on video.
and for some reason she just started singing.
To
She
Gary.
wanted me to film Gary. We were taking pictures of Gary, and she started singing "Come Back to Me."
Well, let's hear it.
Okay.
So this is on your
Yeah.
iPhone. We're listening to this now.
Yeah.
It's Beverly D'Angelo, the late beautiful Carrie Fisher, singing to Carrie's dog Gary.
Yeah, with a song made up on the spot.
Here's Gary over here. Gary, you see, Gary, oh, Gary. Come back to me, Gary, you see, Gary, oh, Gary. Oji booty, giddy booty, Gary, oh, Gary. Come back to me, Gary, you see, Gary, oh, Gary. Gary, oh,
That just honestly
So
made.
that-
I
that's
put a tear
just-
in my eye. That put.
No, but I mean that's it in a nutshell. And then after that we did it again and again and again.
People always say, what was she like? I was like, to each person, she was different. She had her own relationships with everybody.
Yeah.
For me, it was like I was kind of a lost soul, and she goes, stay in my bungalow for a couple of months,
know.
get your shit together. And Sarah Paulson was getting her shit together. We're both kind of
She
fucked up. and
always had that
she
going on.
She always helped.
She was always helpful.
Number 3, I'll tell you, Ryan, Sean Astin. Sean Astin really opened up. Talk about opening up about their mothers. Patty Duke, very famous. And he really opened up about his mother's mental health. I can't believe how much he opened up. I thought for sure he was going to call me and say, hey, can you edit that out? And he didn't. And that's what helps people. When we don't edit shit out, when people listen and go, oh my God, my mom had, bipolar disorder. My mother had this. And what I really got, listen to this. Listen to number 3, Sean Astin on the top 13 moments of 2019.
Well,
Did you get yelled at?
My mother was bipolar. You better believe.
So did she hit you?
Yeah, there was physical abuse.
Really?
Yeah. Usually, there's always a reason, but there was, But my dad was, he would go calm, and it pissed her off because the more she would freak out, the more he would just get mellower and mellower. But when he would raise us with stuff, he'd say things like, "Hey, put yourself in the other guy's shoes." And, 2 wrongs don't make a right. And he would say it at critical moments when you'd just gotten beat up in school or something like that, and you were opinionated about stuff. So there was a value system there. But to go back to the abuse thing,
Yeah.
we felt sorry for her. You know what I mean? It was like watching a little kid act out. So even though we were little kids, and a lot of times I would kind of adopt the paternal vibe, that was an interesting role to assume sometimes when she'd be freaking out about my dad. And in some ways she's looking to the
Attention.
kids to adjudicate the fight. Your father did this and your father did that and he did this and that. And then she looks at you and you're now in the position of having to say like, you're right, Mom. You know what? He shouldn't have done that. Or be like, well, but you did kind of flip out before you had you're like this weird jerk. So what ends up happening is you develop this ability to kind of, run between the raindrops where you don't, but a tone is what she really wants. She wants a nurturing, supportive, understanding tone, and it's impossible with any relationship to kind of like break it all down into its component parts, but this is the quality that people are interested in hearing because it's what's different from, or it's what they've experienced that people don't like to talk about. So when my mom was physically abusive,
I always sensed that she knew what my limits were and she didn't push past them. So where there was abuse, you were kind of like, it was almost performance art. And you kind of like, well, maybe this doesn't hurt as much as it could. There was 1 or 2 times where she lost it, where she wasn't.
I can see your eyes too. You remember exactly the moment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think she wanted to have like the perfect kid. She wanted to prove to everyone that she was like the perfect mother and that you didn't have to have the kind of turmoil that she had in her life in order to have success. So when I was 7 or 8, I always get the dates a little bit wrong, or the age is a little bit wrong, but I was 7 or 8 and she came to me and said, they're doing an after school special. You remember these after school specials?
Yeah.
They would do these like issue of the week shows, child abuse, teen pregnancy, drug addiction.
Kind of groundbreaking.
It was groundbreaking, but it was also lame because they would just wrap it all up in a nice, neat little bow in 20 minutes, you know?
But they would still talk about it at least.
Yeah. So they wanted my mom to play this abusive mother. And she said, okay, but if my son can be the abused
That's right.
child.
That's right.
So I played.
Jesus.
It was called Please Don't Hit Me, Mom. And
Please Don't Hit Me, Mom.
there was
starring your mother as your mother and you as you.
I actually just saw the poster for it. Lance Guest was in it. I don't know if you ever knew who Lance Guest was. And Nancy McKeon of, what do you call it? Different Facts of Life fame that my brother started for 5 years. So it was their 3 names, my mom and those 2. And then my name wasn't mentioned on the poster at all. But the poster was of my mom crying on a couch, hugging me. And I just remember I had this like really big hair. But it was an interesting experience.
I mean, so she in the movie or in the she was the show she was abusive.
Yeah.
So you were like reliving your life. I mean, your life essentially. You were playing a part where it's like this is real. This is actually happening in my house. But you didn't say that. No one there on set.
No one had.
No one in the world knew anything. You think they just knew? You think people knew what that your mom?
I think you could tell. It was an amazing learning experience. Not just the fight scenes where she would be, the abuse scenes, which I was a little bit nervous, uncomfortable laughter. That's my first acting story that I tell people is that, she's supposed to grab me. I forgot to tell her something, or I dropped a math book, or I don't know what it was in the show. And so she's grabbing me in the kitchen and banging me against the cupboard. And so I'm laughing. And the director's getting nervous. These TV movies, they don't have a lot of time to sort of think about stuff. You got to
use it because it's interesting.
Well,
interesting choice, Sean.
They were just panicked because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. So my mom took me outside and she goes, Sean, this is my career. I took a chance on you. Right? And I start to cry. And she's like, okay. And they go, and she's like, rolling. So they roll, and she's beating me up, and I'm crying and everything. And then they say, cut. And the director's like, God, that was amazing. And my mom hugs me, and tears are rolling down my cheeks because I've just disappointed or whatever. And she looks at me and she smiles and she goes, honey, that's acting. You did it. And you're like, oh, good. Okay, good. That's like a good thing, I guess.
Number 2. This dude, I've seen him when I was doing comedy, doing stand-up. Boy, was I frightened. Stand-up was a really tough time for me. I had to pretend I was just fine. And I just watched the movie Judy.
Oh, yeah.
Renee Zellweger.
Yeah.
Zegweller?
That's right.
I listen to me. I'm going to tell you guys something. I've never cried this hard, this long after seeing that movie. At the end, 15 minutes of hard crying, and I don't regret it a bit. It was cathartic. My dogs consoled me. They really came to me, and they hugged me and kissed me. Well, they didn't hug me, but they kissed me. She gets horrible stage fright, Judy Garland, and I was like, oh my God. And she died at 47. I'm like, oh my God. And all these things, and I was like, she popped pills. That's what killed her. I'm like, oh my God. I'm just saying I felt like I could relate. I just did. I felt like I was like, wow. And she's 47. I'm like, I'm 47 now. And I felt like it was even that movie was sort of you have to have a wake-up call or you will die. People will die. You can't suffer. You can't hurt your body. I've always had stage fright. I think that's the real thing, and I never want to admit it. But I do. The way I'm trying, I think with meditation and things, I'm trying to calm that. It's not that big of a deal. Do your shit. Don't think in the future. Don't take a week stressing out when you're wasting time. Stress out the day of or the hour of. Give yourself a chance, maybe for an hour a day, but doing it to yourself, fight or flight all the time. So going up with Dane Cook against, not against Dane Cook, but with these other huge talents, these stand-ups, it was rough. And Dane, I thought, is he going to open up, or is he going to be, because everybody has this perception. Was Dane Cook a dick? Was he this? And he fucking talks about things that make you go, yes, this is a good dude. This is a solid guy. He just texted me. He wants to come back on the podcast. I love how open he was about his brother's embezzlement, about life. If you listen to the whole podcast, how he talks about his dad, there's some sweet, sweet moments. Number 2 of the top 13 moments of 2019, Dane Cook.
Greatest moments of my life are sometimes the things that were the absolute most atrocious, because from that, you get tools. You get tools that you can then implement, sometimes into your work, just sometimes into something funny, a funny story, or a performance. Those things that I lived through that. I studied the steps, the empathy, the anger. I allowed myself to kind of sit in it. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I've never done anything in my life. I feel feelings, and then I get to put that and share it in stories and performance. So there's nothing that comes bad from weakness sometimes in myself or in people around me that I have to cohabitate with.
When you say atrocious, I mean, you probably don't want to talk about any of this, but if you do, what's one thing you will talk about that you're like, this happened in my life, and as bad as it is, I learned so much from that, and how did you get through it?
Well, for me, it was putting my brother in jail. I had to put my brother
in jail. The embezzlement.
Yeah. So once that happened, and I pick and choose where I talk about it, because it was a cataclysmic betrayal in my life that almost sent me into an abyss of depression. So sometimes and forgive me if I say to you, I just don't want to keep going down this rabbit hole, but to look down from the cusp of it for a minute, I can tell you that it was like everything that I thought my life was up until the day that happened, and then the year to follow of how bad it got. It capsized me. And it made me a person that was very difficult to be around, because I was encumbered and sad. So I had to, go back over the years, because I probably didn't always treat people fairly, because I was mortified. I was humiliated by my brother publicly at a time when I was hitting an echelon of superstardom that I should have fucking been enjoying 24/7, and I couldn't.
It was like somebody's just dragging you, pulling you down while you're trying to get up.
I'd said a couple times in previous interviews, I said, I felt like I was surviving the piranhas of Hollywood so well, only to find out my brother was the devil. It was nuts. Would I change it now? 0 would I change.
0.
Everything that I became from that as a person and performer, I value myself even more from that experience.
Before we get into the number 1, I also want to throw out some love to everyone again for making, not making me do this, but showing me the light that I'm doing something. I really enjoy it. I really love doing this podcast. And write in, tell us how you feel, write a review, get your friends to subscribe. It's important. Let's get into the number 1. Super talented. The best thing I think he said was, my work does not define me. I am not my work. It really sat with me. And let's get into it. This is Rainn Wilson.
Are you still extremely hard on yourself? Even when you're doing The Office?
Yeah.
Did you going, I have to step it up, or a hit show, I have to be funny, I have to be this? Were you hard after the show?
Yeah, I've gotten so much better in the last 4 or 5 years. I've really made big strides in a lot of ways. I used to be really career obsessed. And you know what that's like in this world of just constant comparing myself to others, and why is he in that movie and I'm not? And I was, when I was on The Office, it was all about how do I leverage Dwight to get more movie roles and to get greater stardom, and so it was really just hard on myself and really kind of had OCD about that, filming that in my head and going over it again. And now I really let that go.
How?
Well, a lot of it's been this therapy work, and, just work with my wife. She's been really supportive about it. And, as I've kind of loved myself more, I think going more into spirituality has allowed me to love myself more so that I am not my job. I am not my success. My self-esteem is not, it's certainly linked to success in my work, but I am not my work. I am not how successful my work is going. So I don't need that anymore, but it used to be that way. And it kind of made me an asshole,
You were an asshole.
I don't think if you talk to the Office cast, they would be like, oh, Rain was an asshole. I think we all get along and good, but I could be an asshole. Yeah. I could be pretty narcissistic and self-centered. And yeah, I had some rough years in there.
So there you have it, guys. Top 13 moments. It was really a joy. There's so many other great guests. This year, we've got so many other great guests coming on. Some will repeat. Stephen Amell, he came back. Morena Baccarin. Come on, man. That's exciting. Many other guests. I'm so excited. Video is coming your way on YouTube, so make sure I'll let you know when that comes out. But we're going to just try to make the show better and better. We're not changing the show. We added a little intro, a little outro, a little more talking about you guys, and trying to be more current. We'd like to just be a little more current and record the intros and outros close to when we air. So we're trying different things, and it's hard with different schedules. But we love you. We thank you. This top 13 moments of 2019 for Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Ryan, thank you. This has been fantastic. What are your Bryce? I want to thank Bryce because he really put a lot of this, most of it together. He really did. And Mia for editing this. Really top-notch stuff. And, we're just striving to be better and better. Ryan, this has been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, this is a lot of fun. Also, the Patreons, I love you. The Patreons, if you want to join Patreon, go to Patreon, subscribe to the podcast. You're going to get a lot of stuff. I mean, the top tier, I think, gets care packages from me every 4 months. I think there's Q&As with me. There's shit talking with Michael Rosenbaum, a bunch of other stuff too, extra podcast stuff, extra. So I'm really excited about that. And remember, Portland, Oregon, I will be there at the end of January. So come see Smallville Nights. Come see Tom Welling and I. We got the wine, Knocking Point Wines. It's called Pure Evil. I'm the pure this time. Welling's the evil. We sold out last year. Get the 10% off. It's in the intro. I gave you all the information. All right. This is a shout out to the top tier patrons on Patreon. Vortex, Christina B, Emily, Emma H, Jason W, Nancy D, Nico P, Sarah V, Trisha, Barry I. And listen, patrons, I freaking love you guys. I was so shocked at looking on there going, is anyone going to subscribe to this? I don't know. Everybody's telling me to do it. And all of a sudden I'm like, boom, 100 patrons right away. And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, can I just do Inside of You for the rest of my life? Also on social media, don't forget to follow and at Inside of You Pod on Twitter, at Inside of You Podcast on Instagram, and Inside of You Podcast on Facebook. Also, this is a message from a fan. Brian says, a message from Michael. Hey, Michael, not sure if this will ever reach you. My name is Brian, 30 years old from Kansas City, Missouri. Thank you for staying true to yourself and doing things that suit you. Man, I know Smallville was long hours and stressful, but man, it got me through some difficult times in my life. My parents' divorce, grandparents, death, etc. I discovered your podcast and I came for some humor, but it has helped through so much. So many days dealing with panic and anxiety, and your podcast is a breath of fresh air. I have to make it out to the West Coast and meet at a convention or something. Many blessings. And that's Brian Kelly. So you see what impact the show has. It means the world to me. Thank you for writing in, because I do read them. You see, I do read these things. Oh,